Hello, friends, and welcome to the Friendors Podcast, a podcast by wedding vendors for wedding vendors. I'm your host, Shawn Miller, owner and founder of Young, Hip, and Married and professional wedding officiant. Each week, I interview my friends from the wedding industry, and we talk about life as a wedding vendor, how they got started, challenges they faced along the way. If you're a vendor, you know we got to throw in a few chaotic stories. Thanks so much for being here, and let's dive into the episode. Reuben, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me.
Yes.
Yeah.
A bit of both.
Yeah, a bit of both, right? This is your venue.
It is.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you for having us. It's been crazy positive feedback about the space and the footage that we're getting and the backdrop. Like it's meant for this. Do people film here often?
It's starting to ramp up.
Yeah, I can definitely see this becoming a popular location for filming, even for like TV shows or movies and that sort of stuff in Vancouver.
Some of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It seems like the film industry is ramping up despite threats,
everything that's going on in the world
from south of the border.
Yeah.
So we've had a lot of inquiries lately. We're about to film, a show's filming here in August.
Yeah, that's great.
A bunch of other location scouts checking it out. So it's definitely, I would say, gaining notoriety around the city.
Well, I can understand why. It's a super cool spot.
Yeah.
There's lots we can talk about.
Sure.
So before we dive into everything, like who are you? What do you do? Like if someone's to meet you, your 60-second elevator pitch, like, hey, I'm Shawn, I'm Reuben.
Yeah.
Like, because you do a lot.
I suppose, yeah.
Well, I'm from the time I've gotten to know you. So like, who are you? What do you do?
Yeah. Okay. I've been in the restaurant industry for 30 years.
Wow.
I started out, the way lots of people do.
Were you dishwasher?
By
Line cook?
accident, bussing tables.
Bussing tables.
Started out bussing tables.
What restaurant?
At Earl's.
At Earl's. Which Earl's?
Earl's Tin Palace on Marine Drive in North Vancouver.
Wow. Is it still
not
there?
No,
it's not there anymore.
Development took that
as
area.
It does.
Yep. So that was 30 years ago. March 95 I started.
Wow.
And
so this time, like post high school?
Yeah, no, I'm first year college.
First year college.
Living on my own, just moved to the city from a small town in BC, and things were more expensive than I expected. The things I wanted to do cost money, and so my college career didn't last too long. And I just needed work. I was actually selling skis throughout the winter. I grew up skiing. That was my sort of high school sport. Selling skis at Sport Check through the winter.
Okay. Bussing tables.
Ski season was over.
Yeah.
I was about to get moved into the golf department. Now that sounds incredible because
now you
I'm
golf.
obsessed with golf. But at the time I was not a golfer, and I was like, how the hell am I going to sell?
What were you studying in college?
Business administration.
Okay. Well,
so I did want, to set myself up to be an entrepreneur at some point. Didn't necessarily know that path. Anyway, got into Earl's. I was 18 at the time, so I was only old enough to.
Yeah, they wouldn't let you serve alcohol.
Couldn't serve,
Yeah.
I wanted to be a server or bartender.
Yeah.
I ended up shifting into expediting. The kitchen crew at the time was sort of recruiting me into the kitchen, and I ended up moving into the kitchen.
Yeah, those are different cultures, right? Like I worked, when I started Young, Hip, and Married, I moonlit at the Keg as a server.
Yeah.
Because I needed to make some extra cash, and I was running my business during the day. And like there's the kitchen crew, and then there's like the service crew, right? And they're like different cultures, like same restaurant, but totally different teams. So they brought you in.
They brought
me
in.
Get back here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and I guess the way to move up was to do something new.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I could bus, I could expedite, but at front of house, that was sort of my limit at the time. And so I decided to give it a try and fell in love with it. And so
what specifically, like the cooking, just the busyness, like the high paced?
Yeah, a bit of all those things. I think the challenge of it, and the challenge of being like a good line cook, you have to keep so much organized.
Dude, it is wild to watch.
Yeah, you've got, I remember being an early pans cook and having just like 9 or 10 pans on at the same time, and making sure you don't burn anything, and you've got to get your food out on time and present it beautifully, and then at the end of the night, clean your station as if nothing ever happened.
You get to be a cook and a janitor.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah.
And the camaraderie of it, the team aspect of it, everybody supporting one another.
Yeah, and it's the beers after the shift and the hanging out, right? It really is a team event.
Certainly, in those days was a huge part of it. There was a lot of fun had. Definitely like a family oriented sort of business where, everybody picked one another up and, lots of chirping along the way.
And picking on each other.
Yeah. Which was the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Too. I loved it.
Yeah.
It's like a team sport. It's like being on a hockey
Absolutely.
team. So I loved that. And so I progressed through that direction and, became a head chef in that organization, did my Red Seal apprenticeship.
Wow.
And then, was sort of like interested in the creative side of things.
Yeah.
Evolved into the last role I had there was director of culinary and bar development for the whole company.
Wow.
And I did that for...
How big is Rolls? Is it?
Oh my God, massive.
Is it in the U.S. or no? It's just Canada.
Yeah.
It is in the U.S. now. Okay. When did it go to the U.S.?
A long time ago. There was restaurants in Dallas and
really?
Phoenix, Scottsdale.
Okay.
Way back in the day.
Okay.
Now they've got tons. I wouldn't even know how many, but
so it's gone definitely. But it started in Canada. Yes,
it did. Yeah. So I had this role, director of culinary and bar development. I was on the creative side, so I was responsible for the development of the entire menu and tweaking it and upgrading it, bringing authenticity to it. And so
what was that like?
It was great. It was a really cool job. I traveled a ton.
Yeah. And check out different cuisines.
Yeah. And that was my role.
Oh my God. Sounds amazing.
France, Italy, Spain, traveling to big US
to eat
hubs, eat and drink. But I would do stages in these countries. And so, I picked up a lot of different things along the way. I did that. I had that role for 6 years. It was the best job I was ever going to have at Earl's.
Right.
And there was a time that came where I could
kind of choose, right?
And I, I was I was in my mid-30s.
Yeah.
And, I made a decision to move on and try my hand at going my own way and
into entrepreneurship,
opening my own businesses. And so about 2 years prior to leaving Earl's, we had already started. I was partners with 3 other people who started Vancouver Urban Winery and Fresh Tap Pour System, which was we introduced wine on tap to Canada.
Okay.
And so we brought the technology to Canada, and we were putting wine in kegs so that restaurants and bars could serve wine on tap. And we were in this, infancy stage where we needed basically an education center so that we could show people how wine on tap worked, because there was lots of skepticism around it. The whole purpose of wine on tap is to serve fresh wine from start to finish as soon as you tap a keg, because it's gas pressurized and never oxidizes. You can serve wine fresh like it was fresh out of the bottle for the entire lifespan of that keg.
Wow.
And so you eliminate glass labels, cardboard,
all of it.
The weight of delivery. And then, like you said, you worked at the keg for years. You know that back bar full of open bottles of wine are deteriorating the second they
get opened when you're pouring glasses out of the bottle.
Yeah. So we had to basically show people how that worked, and wineries were interested in jumping on board, but they want to know who the restaurants were going to be that were going to serve it.
Right.
Restaurants were interested, but they want to know who the wineries were.
Was.
And so we brought them together at Vancouver Urban Winery.
Okay.
And so early days, this is like 2011, 2012, we were, on one hand, we were putting wine in kegs and doing that for all these different wineries. But on the other hand, we were trying to educate people on picking up this new technology.
Right. And was that the Vancouver Urban Winery, was that why it started completely? Like, you weren't doing the restaurant side of things. It was just designed to, I didn't know this about the Vancouver Urban Winery, so that's how it started, right? You're finding local wineries, great restaurants, bringing the two together with technology.
Yep. And as a consumer, you could also come and, do a wine flight. So you could come and try all these different wines in taster-sized glasses from all over the province. So it's pretty cool in that regard.
Yeah.
But it wasn't completely a viable business at that time. And so what we did to supplement it was we hosted weddings and parties and big things. And so that whole business now has come sort of full circle.
Right.
Early days at that time, the liquor legislation only allowed us to pour tasters of wine.
Yeah, how big?
1 ounce.
1 ounce of wine.
So we could pour 5 1-ounce glasses, but not 1 5-ounce glass. Silly rules.
We won't get into it.
We won't. It's I could do a full rant on that whole process and how it continues today, to be honest. So yeah, we got then I think it was like October 2013. Liquor legislation changed.
Yep.
Now we could pour full glasses and bottles.
Is that when
of
the
wine.
happy hour came in? Because I remember when that shifted, like all of a sudden BC got happy hour.
Yeah.
At some point around there.
I don't recall the date
when.
of that, but that was another silly thing. Like
Right.
if you're going to do happy hour, then your price had to be what it was for the entire day.
Right. I remember
Couldn't
that.
be for a portion of the day.
Yeah.
Why? Who cares?
Yeah.
Anyway, they figured that out.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
So they changed it.
So legislation's updated. Can pour full glasses and bottles of wine, but now you also have to offer hot and cold food.
Right.
And so we didn't have a facility to do that. We were doing charcuterie.
Right.
And it was sort of not sufficient enough to sustain like a crowd that's going to come and have a full glass of wine, and only charcuterie is the only option. So I had just left Earl's. I was like, I know what to do. Why don't we build a restaurant? And so we built Bellegarde Kitchen.
And so did you design like the whole restaurant? Like was it a blank facility? Because the building you're in is pretty awesome.
The building is incredible.
Yeah. And what was in there before it became Vancouver Urban Winery?
So building built in 1923. So it's just over 100 years old.
Wow.
All those beams are original, Douglas fir, full trees.
What's the story behind the door?
So the interior door was imported from a cathedral in South America.
Really? It's beautiful.
It is beautiful. Yeah. And I think that was maybe something like 20 years ago.
Okay. The outside door is amazing too.
So that was there when we first
right.
took over. The entrance was up a set of stairs, but didn't have that big sort of modern looking door. I think in 2014, guy that owns Bocce Lighting and his partner purchased the building. Very art focused people, and so they put in all those windows and that full entrance doorway, which makes it just sort of elevated that building incredibly. So 2014 restaurant opens April. At that time craft beer was just kicking off. We already had a winery license. We got a brewery license. We started a brewery called Postmark Brewing, which you may remember.
Is Postmark not around anymore?
It is not around, which is another long story that
we won't get into.
But basically, we built Postmark to be big enough that we couldn't sustain it in the space we were in, and we needed to.
Were you brewing it at the facility?
We were, yeah.
Okay, I don't know how you had it. So you had a kitchen, a brewery, and you were putting wine on tap.
Yeah.
And hosting events.
Well, the event stuff had now sort of dropped off because
but
the restaurant
all in that
was
one building,
fully sustainable. We actually had, so that building is 3 bays.
Yep.
We had the second bay as well.
Okay.
So we were doing all of our packaging over on that side. When craft beer started off, if you remember, it was all in bottles. It was like 650 ml bottles.
Yeah.
Bombers, they were called.
The swing top ones. I remember those.
Those were like the sort of special ones.
Yeah.
So we had a bottling line over on that side.
Oh my gosh.
We would pump beer from one side to the other. It was nutty. And yeah, so things just sort of evolved from there. And Bellegarde was doing really well. It's like 2016, 2017 now. We decided we want to grow. So we start looking around for, one of the things we were looking for were restaurants that we could convert.
Right.
Or either like a brand that was going to, that wasn't working out, that was going to move out, and we could, take on the space, convert it, build a new brand.
Yeah.
Or in the case of Havana, take over an existing brand.
Right.
And what we loved about Havana was that it had so much brand equity.
Yep. Massive. Like, how long has Havana been?
Since 1996.
Okay.
So it's been around forever.
Yep.
We loved the location.
Yeah. It's great. The vibe, Commercial Drive is such a great vibe.
Awesome vibe. Such a melting pot of cultures, location right across from the park, sunshine all day on an incredible patio, like just ticked all these boxes.
Yeah.
At the same time, hadn't had a lot of attention paid to it for a period of time. And so we thought, we could come in, we could give it a refresh and sort of relook at the operations of it and hopefully like take it to the next level.
Yeah.
And so we knocked on the door and asked.
You knocked on the door?
Yeah.
Just went and been like, hey.
Yeah.
What do you guys do? Do you want to sell your restaurant?
My business partner at the time
was
just sort of out and about, getting a hold of people and asking.
Wow.
And so it turned out that they did want to sell. The owners were turning 70.
Okay.
And
yeah.
it was just retirement time. But the one catch was that they owned the building as well, and it had to be a package deal.
Okay.
And so we're like, okay.
Now you're getting into the real estate
Yeah,
business.
we didn't have buying a building in mind.
Right.
But we were like, this seems like such a great opportunity to be ashamed to pass it up.
Right.
And so and we built a bit of a relationship with them as we were negotiating. And so they felt good about, they wanted to make sure that they were going to pass it on.
There's a lot of business owners, right?
Yeah.
Because they put so much sweat equity and heart and soul into it. It's like, you want to find a buyer that's going to continue that on.
Yeah. And so we figured out how to buy the business and the building and then, give Havana some fresh energy and a refresh. And so, I think we were able to do that.
Yeah, it's bumping. Every time I walk by, it's bumping.
Yeah, no, it's been great. And, I think, perhaps right at the beginning, we underestimated the guest loyalty to the old way of doing things. 'Cause we definitely fully revamped the menu. We changed a lot of things. We tried to, systemize and, streamline and simplify and do a bunch of things that were going to allow the business to operate better.
Right.
But the initial reaction wasn't as positive as we thought,
right.
which was a bit of a surprise. And so,
a lot of loyal fans and customers.
Yeah. And so it took us a while to kind of, and I don't know necessarily, say like turn over a clientele.
Right.
We certainly started to attract a younger clientele that wasn't necessarily here at that time.
Right.
I'm sure we turned over some clientele that liked the old way and didn't love the new way.
As there is.
And so we had to kind of accept that. But over time, we sort of rebuilt our position. This is a very community-based restaurant that a lot of people, I think, rely on as a bit of a community hub, whether it's, where their kids come to get their first job.
Right.
Take the Flamingo Room now, which used to be Havana Theater.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
A lot of art. The arts were take plays, comedy, live music. A lot of fledgling productions were started here.
Yeah.
People were sort of testing their model, see if it worked in this space. And so it's an important part of the community in a lot of different ways. And so we wanted to make sure we maintain that.
When you got Havana, it also came with this space.
It did.
And what did this look like before it looked like this?
So it was a black box.
Black box.
That's it.
It was a theater.
It was a theater.
It was a theater. And, local music, plays, just all local arts.
The way that it worked was we actually rented the theater out to all these different productions.
Okay.
So, Shawn's play,
right,
wants to kick off here. And so for the week of June 2nd,
right,
you're renting the theater, you sell your own tickets. We had a ticketing system that we would, provide for you. And so all the ticket sales would come through there. We would provide like food and beverage service. Originally, we didn't have this side license. We didn't have a liquor license in here. So you actually had to have drinks out there and then come in.
You couldn't bring the booze in here.
You couldn't.
Right.
So eventually we got that updated and, there were a whole bunch of things along the way, but the problem with it was COVID. COVID killed the theater.
Killed a lot of things.
It did. And so we went from 60 seats to 24 seats that had to be spread and divided.
Yeah.
And, people were like, well, I can't really make money testing my play with 24 seats that, may not all fill.
Right.
And there was, I would say like in that community, there was trepidation about coming back too.
Yeah, to live events. And there was all of that going on.
So it just never really rebounded after COVID.
Yeah.
Now, one of the positive things about COVID was, and I would say like perhaps the only one, was that the city got their act together really quickly and allowed for curbside patios.
Yeah.
And so, those next 2 summers when everybody felt comfortable being outside and in fresh air,
Yeah.
our patio, by allowing us to put an additional 8 tables on the street,
Yeah.
our patio business took off. And so here we were, with great outdoor stuff happening. And then we had this
An empty
space
indoor space.
and the restaurant was fine
Right.
and good.
But you have this whole space
doing absolutely
nothing.
And so I always had this vision of putting a cocktail bar in here.
Yeah.
And so eventually convinced my partners that was going to be a good idea. Because we own the building, there was a bunch of infrastructure stuff that needed to be done in the building as well. And so we put together this plan to upgrade, things like plumbing and mechanical and do a bunch of
all the stuff you got to do
that makes the building run better. And simultaneously bring over to this side plumbing. Like we had no washrooms on this side. We wanted to put a bar in. That all needed to be plumbed. And so we put together this plan to.
So when did construction start?
So another city gripe. I think between the time we applied for our permit and finally got it, it was like 9 or 10 months.
Okay.
Which is crazy because we weren't actually doing anything new.
Right.
The use of the space wasn't changing.
Right.
But there's just all these roadblocks along the way. It was nuts. So I think we planned to start like in February of 2023. And we finally opened in December of 2023.
Okay.
And so, big gap in between there where this space continued to sit empty.
Right.
But one of the things we wanted to maintain with the Flamingo Room was to make sure that we still had a connection to the arts. And so we wanted to make sure that we were offering live music in here. And I think so far it's been a tremendous addition, especially in a city, I think that doesn't have a ton of venues. And so artists.
Is there venues on Commercial Drive? Is there any other ones?
There are a couple.
So Legion,
there's a few that are doing
dance hall up on the Legion there, and
Nona's Kachina up there is doing it. There's another place on the other side of the street that I walked by recently, and they had live music in there.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's around,
right?
But I think for the number of artists out there looking for spaces, I would say it's underserviced probably. Mm-hmm. So it's turned out super well. And, the difference is prior, we would rent the space to someone, and now, we pay an artist to come in every night. And so
amazing.
They're sort of guaranteed their income on it.
So where did the vision for the Flamingo Room come from? Like loosely tied to Havana, like similar vibe, like the tropicals, like where?
Yeah. So
how did that come about?
So, one of the things is that the room that's through this wall here, the back area, that's sort of like a group seating space, used to have this giant flamingo painting, which actually is right by the door there.
Okay.
And we just loosely called it the Flamingo Room.
Oh, okay.
On that side.
Okay.
And so when we were talking about what we wanted to do here, we wanted to, it needed to be call it Havana adjacent.
Right.
And so we wanted it to look tropical, and we really wanted it to be an escape for people. Maybe the summer feels tropical and green outside, but certainly we all know our winters, dark, dreary, gray. If you can come into a space that's green and bright and feels like you're in an entirely different place, that's what we wanted to achieve with it. And so Miami-inspired cocktail bar is what we came up with. We looked around at a lot of different places. We did, to come up with our vibe. Yeah. And this is where we landed. And so I think it's a great compliment to Havana. I would say it's, has a little bit of a refined feel in comparison to Havana. Havana, we wanted to maintain, I call it the patina of the original Havana. Yeah. People still carving their name in the wall.
Yeah, that's great.
And doing all that kind of stuff that feels, gives it that sort of rustic, bit edgy feel to it.
And a sense of ownership too, right? Havana definitely feels like it belongs to the community. Yeah. Like when you come into Havana, you're like, oh, this is a local joint. Like it has that vibe. Yeah.
And that, I'm glad you feel that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what we wanted to maintain. I think that it had been...
You've done well, for sure.
A job had been done so well prior to us, acquiring it, that we wanted to keep that going. And so, but then the Flamingo Room needed to be needed to feel different, but aligned at the same time. And so
Right.
that's where it all came from.
That's all came about.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you asked me for a 60-second
And here we
elevator
go. 15
pitch.
minutes
15
later.
minutes later.
That's the way it works.
So where I am now.
Yeah. So what's your day-to-day like now? Like because you've got Havana, Vancouver Urban Winery, Flamingo Room. I'm sure you probably have some other Bellegarde Kitchen.
And I'm working on growth for our business. So I'm looking for a third location.
Right.
And that I would say that's my main responsibility, is to make sure that our organization grows.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're not growing, you're dying, and so you gotta be
searching for what's restaurateurs. That seems to be a thing. Like people who start a restaurant and make a go of it, they always seem to want to get another one and then another one. Like, where's that from? Am I making that up in my mind?
If you have one,
right,
you've bought yourself a job.
Right.
And you're an owner operator, and there you are, and you're, whether you're chef based or front of house based, you're either on the pans or you're running the place.
Yeah, running the place.
Then you get two.
Yeah.
And then you can sort of split your time, but two is like a tricky number because you can't be the owner operator, but ideally you have three to really make the economies of scale work. And so that's certainly the goal, is to get to three. Is it a sickness that all restaurateurs have? I don't know. I just think if you're not trying to grow, like, what are you doing?
Right.
So that's my perspective on it, but I wouldn't say that's everyone's.
And you never finished your college degree?
No, but I certainly, I feel like I got an MBA.
Oh yeah. As an in entrepreneurship. Yeah. Going through the ranks, right? Yeah. Isn't that amazing, right? Like, where you can start off as a line cook, and through the constant pursuit of growth, being open, foresight, like you could end up here, running multiple different one organization, but multiple different venues. Like, it's pretty inspiring, right?
Yeah, I would say.
I don't think it's uncommon too.
No, that's what I was going to say. I think that's, you got to have some grit and grind, and be able to be willing to really work hard and do every job that comes your way.
Yeah.
But I would say lots of entrepreneurs get here and probably in a similar path.
Yeah, they kind of follow the breadcrumbs, right? And it just kind of leads you where you're going to lead you. If we would have told you when you started as a line cook at Earl's that you ended up here,
I wouldn't have seen it that way.
You would have seen it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. So, Bellegarde Kitchen, Van Urban Winery, you guys host a lot of weddings there.
We do.
Yeah. What's that experience been like?
Well, it's kind of come full circle in that's kind of how we started. And, in, I'd say 2011, 2012, when we were just getting going there, my two operating business partners at the time ran all those events. I still had a full-time job, and so I wasn't really involved. I was just an investor at that time. But it was successful, and I think Vancouver Urban Winery put its name on the map as an incredible venue. And going back to the beauty of that building, like, it's so unique.
It really is special.
And we actually tried to do as little to it as possible,
right?
Because it had all these beautiful bones. One of the things I meant to say before was that the business that was in there prior to us was called Souquette, and they were like this plaster business. So if you think about the fireplace that's in the middle of the restaurant, that was there as part of their display. The archway that leads into the washrooms was there. We just built the washrooms behind it. The base of the bar was there. We just put a bar top and all the facilities in it. So we tried to do, honestly, very little to the space. Even where we put the kitchen in, like, there was minimal. We just put it where it fit.
Right.
We weren't changing the infrastructure of the building. We were just trying to fit things in and Tetris it together a little bit.
So plaster, like, I'm thinking of the fireplace. So
it's like these ornate, I would do it a disservice to try and describe it myself properly.
But I think I'm understanding what you mean.
If somebody wants to build a beautiful, fireplace.
Right. Archway, fireplace, bar top.
In their home.
Right.
That was
very decorative and artistic.
Yeah. So that was all in there, and we just left it where it was.
Okay.
And tried to leave the beautiful bones of the building to do the talking, and there's like a crane
Yeah.
on the ceiling. Excuse me, that was from the original metal foundry that was in there.
Wow. So from your perspective, with this wealth of experience you have, like what makes a great venue? Like a lot of, us who work in the wedding industry, the venue is like, we don't really interact a lot of time with venue owners, that sort of stuff. So what makes, from your perspective, when you think about curating a space for events, maybe not even just weddings, right? But events in general, like what type of things from your perspective with this wealth of knowledge, like do you look to that says like, what's going to make people want to come here? Like what type of things do you focus on?
I think always unique features.
Right.
So a few things that we love are doorways,
Yeah.
as you've noticed.
Yes.
Lighting, as you've noticed in both venues.
Yep.
And I think greenery really gives a space life.
Mm-hmm.
It gives it warmth. It gives it just makes you feel, I think, good in the space.
Yeah.
And so those are certainly attributes that we focus on. Natural light, important, like a place that you can feel alive in.
Yeah.
This theater, prior to us converting it to the Flamingo Room, had no light. We cut 2 skylights.
Oh, you put the skylights in
because we wanted to liven up the place and be able to have
grow some plants
actually grow in here.
Right.
And so, I think those are main things. And then how do you make it unique?
Right.
There's lots of cookie cutter stuff out there. It's tough to take a new build and make it unique and cool because, it might be fairly cookie cutter. And so by taking on spaces that have been around for a long time and have a ton of character, that gives us a bit of a leg up too.
So are you involved on the design side? Is there someone dedicated to design on your team?
So
is it a collective? How does it work?
This, it has been different every time.
Right.
So, Vancouver Urban Winery, my 2 business partners at the time, we were definitely bootstrapping. And so anything that happened there was coming out of their minds and their hard work and whether it was like landscaping out front on the weekend or painting ourselves or whatever it was, a lot of it was done ourselves. Even when we originally renovated this space, a former business partner of mine who's moved on to do some really cool other things, had a very design mind.
Yeah.
And we did the reno on that side in like 19 days, but a lot of it was like our own. We had a contractor doing the majority of the work, but I remember coming in after working at Bellegarde for the day and like he and I kicked down a couple pony walls and like we were doing some of our own demo.
Wow.
Just to get the place done quickly and as inexpensively as possible, to get back up and running.
How long were you closed for?
19 days.
When you ran out Havana?
On that side, yeah.
Wow.
It was fast.
Yeah, that is fast.
Everybody worked double. It was like 38 days of work.
Had you planned the menu out and all that beforehand?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, but it was like we got our permit to demo.
Right.
And because we were making some floor plan changes and things that needed permitting. And it came, we're like, we got to get this done before summer. It was also April that we did it. I think we started like, let's call it like March 29th.
Yeah, because patio season in Vancouver kind of starts in May. It's like once that sun comes out, people are like, get me outside.
I'm pretty sure we reopened April 15th that year.
Wow.
And I remember it rained almost every day that we were closed. And I was like, oh, thank God, we're not missing out. We're not missing out. And then like the day we reopened, the sun came and it didn't stop.
Right.
And we just got our asses kicked.
Yeah, as you do.
Which was great, which was what we wanted. So I think we kind of crammed it all in, like including, refining the menu.
Right.
We were working in the kitchen while we were finishing the front and, just tidying up some of the menu items and getting ready to launch. So,
wow. Yeah. Do you like hosting events? Like, you got a pretty wealth of experience, right? Like started with food, which obviously food, wine, beverage, big passion of yours. Mm-hmm. But when you think about, events, because there's, restaurants, a lot of restaurants shy away from large events, right? Maybe I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe it's financial reasons. Maybe it's just the technicalities and all the pieces. But like, does hosting events something that you like to do?
So I love hospitality
in general.
I love, being part of, and honestly, our team does a whole lot more than I do these days, but delivering an experience that's memorable for people, that they look back on with appreciation and admiration, some of these core memories, like when you're talking about hosting someone's wedding, like it's got to be flawless. And even when hiccups come, you can't let them know.
Right.
So I love the sort of the number of details that are required to do it well, and the people being passionate about delivering an experience that, goes beyond people's expectations. I love that. And whether it's, and I love hearing about it. I'm not at a lot of these events anymore, but the team gets so excited about it, and I can't wait to hear what they delivered upon, the night before, whatever it was. And so I think, there's providing the facility and the experienced team to deliver that is something I get just as excited about as being part of it in general.
Right.
Yeah.
So, a restaurateur is out there, they got a space, and like, I'm thinking about getting into weddings, or, they're interested maybe in hosting larger events, or maybe they have a space like you have, right? A lot of people have a restaurant, they have a side room, or there's like a warehouse, and like, oh, maybe we could do something here. Like, what direction would you point someone in that's like thinking about going in this area?
Yeah. I think just like deciding to do it and hoping that it's going to go well would be tricky. I would say like, maybe you can, if you really want to get into it, like ask if you can go, help at a couple and just see what the challenges might be.
Yeah.
There's so many, like,
what are the challenges?
I mean, take a regular restaurant setting that, has staggered seating. People come in, at different times. You've got your reservations, are coming. You kind of know what to expect.
Right.
But you might get rushes here or there, but they're confined to only so many people at a time. If you're doing a wedding, say you're doing like 5-course family style for 150, what's coming, but also the amount of preparation to be able to deliver those dishes in a timely, seamless manner, to make sure that the things that are hot and the things that are cold, and simultaneously topping up wine, or, folding napkins, or whatever it happens to be, all the little details that are required so that the guest never feels any of the stress,
the chaos that's going on behind the
chaos
scenes.
that's required in order to deliver that.
Right. Kind of like being on the line, right? When you're out in the restaurant and everything's going smooth, but back on the line, you said you had 9 pans going.
Yeah.
And like, it's
like a duck, right? You're just cruising on the top, but it's like your legs are going
it's just
bananas.
going like crazy.
Yeah. So I would say it's, you can't just decide to get into it and hope it's going to go well, because it's different.
Well, you're also a caterer, right? You're a caterer and a venue host.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we offer is quite unique, right?
Yeah.
And we actually don't bring in other caterers, because we are the caterer.
Yeah. Well, you got the space. Yeah.
So I think, when it comes to Vancouver Urban Winery, certainly where we host bigger events, versus hosting, more like micro weddings here in the Flamingo Room.
Right.
Just the level of detail required is substantially more. But you get used to it over time. And I think we did like 20 something weddings last year, something like that. Which was the biggest year we've had, because we were more focused on doing that. So yeah.
What distinguishes like then from going like pretty good to like exquisite, like on the back end with you guys? Like,
I think it's preparation.
It's preparation.
Take nothing for granted. Know that there are going to be, we call them culinary curveballs.
Right.
Somebody will be like, "Oh, I'm vegan," and you didn't know that, right? And you're like, "Shit, now we got to like, on the fly, like we got to deliver
something vegan."
Yeah.
And maybe
it's 5 courses. And you're like, okay, like
would have been nice to know.
Yeah. And that
It happens.
is seldom, but like that's an example of what can happen. And you want to deliver an experience to this person where they're like, I just told them I was vegan, and then they knocked it out of the park.
Right.
It can be any number of things that just go.
Right, because you can only prepare so much.
But so sorry, I was going to say, but the plan needs to be solid.
Right.
And, ideally you're so well prepared that you're waiting for the guest.
Right.
So we're like, take from a kitchen perspective, and that's where the main detail is required. I mean, let's say there's a welcome glass of sparkling. It's like you can pre-pour 50% of them as if or you see everybody starting to arrive. It's like you can pour it and get it out, and like it's one step that's quite simple. From a kitchen perspective, you want to have everything sort of ready for that first course, and if you're really organized, the kitchen is standing there waiting for the guest to sit or the speech to finish or whatever it is. And then it's like the second we're ready, it's like off we go.
Right. I'd love to talk a little bit about leading a team, because I think it's pretty unique. I have a pretty big team. I got over 30 people on my team, and leadership has been something that kind of snuck up on me. Like, we kind of started small, and then we added a few more people, and then a few more people. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh shit, like I got a team to lead. Obviously you were leading teams, like you started in a kitchen, like you mentioned, great team environment. So that's kind of been part of your path. But how big is the team now that you lead?
If you think about like from leadership all the way to, service staff, cooks, dishwashers, bussers, between the two restaurants, midsummer, we're probably like 120 to 140, something like that.
That's a big team.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy the leadership element of your role?
Yes, I think it's always been part of what I do. Different now over the last few years, where I have like what we call like a head office that are shared services between both businesses.
Yeah.
And so that team is smaller, like 6 people.
Right.
Those are the only 6 that report into me.
Right.
But then each of them have teams that they go oversee and lead.
Right.
And so, we've built infrastructure over the years that allow for that.
How did you learn this?
Just years of doing it. I mean, the Earl's upbringing, certainly there's a structure there.
Like, did you have leadership training? Did you do courses?
Yeah. There was along the way, for sure. There was always opportunities to learn. There was a lot of leadership training happening at all times. And so certainly apply that stuff. I've been gone for a long time, but the foundation that was learned there works really well.
How crucial do you think it is to the success that you're seeing is like the leadership of your team? Because, you have your core team that you're leading, these 6, right? But they're also leading a team, right? So how crucial is that leadership element to?
Incredibly crucial.
Right.
And, clear communication and expectations, very important. Something we're always challenged with, like, can we communicate better? Can we prepare better? Yes. Like there's always an opportunity to be better. One of the benefits I think our team has is that we have tremendous loyalty. Thinking about our entire team, executive chef, who's now a business partner, is coming up on 10 years in August. We've only been in the restaurant since 2014. So we're like just over 11 years, and he's been with us for 10. Financial controller who used to be general manager, who just finished his CPA last Friday. He's been with me for 8 years.
Okay.
Events coordinator, I think similar 8 years, maybe 7 years. Operations leader is 6 years, I think. Beverage director, 5 years, something like that. And marketing and sales manager is the newest addition, and she's been with us for about 14 months. But that head office crew has been with us. We've got, really great loyalty.
So what's the secret there, right? Because I think a lot of businesses, like, turnover is like a killer.
Yeah.
Right. When you really invest in someone and they, and then, they move on or another opportunity. So like, what do you do to keep your team close? And to build that loyalty, because that's a reflection, obviously, of your leadership, right? They want to stay, they want to build, but it sounds also like you're giving them lots of opportunities to grow and expand.
I think that's one of the keys for sure, especially with young people. They want opportunity. And, despite us not growing by new location since 2017, so we're, 8 years without traditional growth, but we added the Flamingo Room, brand new, exciting addition to the sort of the core set of brands. The evolution from brewery back to events business has been a huge addition to the Vancouver Urban Winery Bellegarde side of things. Right. And so we have been growing, we've been creating new things, and they know that I'm trying to get us a third location, which, the whole team's excited about, because that means opportunity for all of them.
Right.
Which I feel a tremendous responsibility to deliver on, so that they've got something to look forward to.
Right. Are you looking for something like similar? Do you open ideas? Are you
Very
knocking
open.
On doors like your business partner was?
There's not quite the same way, but to some degree, there's, I've got sort of 3 things I'm looking at right now, trying to close on one or two of them in the short term. So, yeah, but each of them would be dramatically different.
Fun.
If we're to land 2 of them, they would be totally different directions. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And so are you still doing wine at the Vancouver Urban Winery?
We are.
You are still doing that element of the business?
In a different way. So we don't put wine in kegs anymore. Okay. That portion of the business was sold off several years ago. We have currently 4 SKUs under the Vancouver Urban Winery label. And so we work with different wineries to put wine in keg and bottle so we can sell it out of our retail store.
Is this like private label? Is that similar or no?
I mean, no, it's more, it's labeled Vancouver Urban Winery.
Right.
So we'll work with a winery who maybe has some excess finished wine, and we'll give it a few tweaks and make it our own. Right. And that goes into bottle. We also make our own cider. And so we use the winery to do that.
You do that at the winery, make the cider there?
We do, yeah. And the purpose of that is, well, this is a legislation thing, but in order to maintain a winery license, you need to produce at least 4,500 liters of fruit fermented alcohol per year. And so
checkbox.
4,500 liters of wine is actually a ton of wine.
Right.
Whereas 4,500 liters of cider is much more manageable and palatable. And so in conjunction with the wine that we do, we also do cider, which is under our Van Urban Cider label.
Okay.
So yeah, a little bit of both.
You got a lot going on.
Lots going on.
So what keeps you going?
I don't know. Generally, I really love what I do.
Right.
I love the hospitality aspect of it. I love being able to, somebody needs a reservation last minute and I can squeeze them in and make sure they have a great time. Like this past weekend, I think I had probably 4 or 5 texts between the 2 restaurants of people like, hey, can you get me at Flamingo at 7:45?
I need to get your number.
Yeah. By all means. By all means. I love being able to do that and make sure that people have a great time and, send a message to the team, check in with the team after. And it's about just delivering memorable experiences.
Yeah. What's the culture? we're going to shift gears a little bit, but Vancouver's got such an amazing food culture. Like, definitely. I really feel like over the last, correct me if I'm wrong, but like 5 years, kind of post-COVID, like there's some amazing restaurants coming up and people are doing so many cool things. Are all you restaurateurs like connected and, going to each other's restaurants? Like, is there a cool little kind of community?
I would say, I think the community generally is very supportive of one another and cheer each other on. I think that's a pretty cool aspect of it. There's definitely a lot of innovation going on in the city. I think Vancouver has been, I would say, on the culinary map for quite some time, actually.
Yeah. Well, I know the California roll started here. Right? Yeah.
I'd go back probably 20 years, maybe, in terms of like when that started to evolve for Vancouver as a call it a foodie
there's
city.
A lot of big chefs have come out of here. I
100%.
think about Vikram and Rob Feeney, and there's some
Hawksworth.
Hawksworth.
Kind of guys,
yeah, that's.
But there's a lot of. Certainly those guys paved the way many years ago, but there's lots of new people coming up that are doing really cool things and young innovative chefs and bartenders for that matter.
Yeah.
The cocktail scene is improving dramatically over the last several years. And so, yeah, it's a great place to come as a tourist. It's a great place to check out as a, do your own local tourism, and just there's, somewhere new to check out all the time. It's hard to, stay on top of the list of new stuff. I especially find now as a dad, I'm, home a lot more than I used to be prior to having.
How old are your kids?
I just have one daughter who's about to turn 4.
Okay. Yeah, you're in the thick of it.
Yeah. So we cook a lot at home together.
Yeah, it's great.
But we're just not going out like we used to, my wife and I. And so it's tough to stay on top of all the new stuff.
Yeah.
But I love being able to go and
you'll be back there.
Check things out and support.
Yeah.
And, throw a high five to the people that and
Our youngest just turned 10 and our oldest is about to turn 17. So now we're finding ourselves getting to go out a lot more.
Right.
Once you get that built-in babysitter, you're like, Mom and Dad are going out. Like, see you guys. So we're finding ourselves, we had that kind of 10-year season of like, kids are going to bed at 7:30. Like, you're home.
That would be nice.
Right? But it'll come back. It'll come back. But now that the kids are older, we're like, okay, like, kids, you guys do anything tonight? No, we're hanging out home. Okay, Mom and Dad are going out. Like, see us. So we're finding ourselves kind of rediscovering the city,
cool.
Which has been amazing, right? It's been super fun to rediscover. So, when we're talking about, a lot of wedding vendors and different people be kind of watching this show, and it's primarily geared towards people in the wedding industry. But, who are your spaces for, right? Because like not every space is for everybody, right? In this Flamingo Room specifically, it's a small, intimate, vibey kind of place, right? So if you were to say like, your Vancouver Urban Winery, Flamingo Room are the two places you're currently able to host large events and weddings, right? Who are the spaces for specifically, like the ideal customer or your avatar?
Boy, I don't think I've been asked that question before or necessarily thought about it. I think here in the Flamingo Room, there's a limit to the number of people we can get in here. It's 50.
But that's kind of a trend right now, right?
Yeah.
The micro wedding.
Sure.
Right.
And so it can be intimate. And so I think it's someone looking for a smaller wedding, one where I think the uniqueness for us is that we're a one-stop shop at both venues.
Yeah.
And so
that's becoming more popular.
I can imagine, I remember when I had my wedding and my wife did the majority of the planning. There were certain things that she needed to have, and my things were music, great music, and great food.
Yeah.
And so,
where did you end up getting married? Where did you do?
We got married in Squamish at the CN Heritage Museum. It was a great venue, really cool. Big wedding. I think we had 205 guests there.
Oh, yeah, that's a big wedding.
It was a shaker. We had a live band. It was awesome. But all the details that were required, all the things we needed to rent or bring in, it's a blank slate. And it's like, okay, your caterer may be 10 grand or whatever it is. And, your booze bill is this and your live band is $5 grand.
And then
whatever
your rentals and your chair covers and your linens and all that.
Just spent 50 grand.
Right.
And that was 10 years ago. So like, what is it worth today? Whereas you can come to our venues and honestly, just show up.
Yeah.
We'll curate a menu for you. We'll take care of the bar. You pay a venue fee, which is somewhat nominal in the whole scheme of things. And we do everything else.
Yeah.
And unless you need something extra special in terms of decor, the venues are beautiful as they are, and they don't require anything extra.
The Vancouver Winery, this place too, does not need much dressing up at all. Like they have such a vibe already.
Yes.
Right? They have such a vibe already.
So I think, if I could get a message out for people, it's like, and ideally most people are only getting married once. So like they don't necessarily know the difference, right? They're out researching and, you might rent this one venue and not take into account all the extras that come along with it. And so when we say, hey, you want us on Saturday night and it's a $27,000 bill, that includes your venue rental, food and beverage, all your rentals, your chairs, your tables, everything is there. And that's it.
Yeah.
That's all you pay.
Yeah.
And you're done. You're in and out. And so I think people are starting to understand that by ticking all those boxes, we make a really seamless experience for them in a really unique venue.
Yeah, it is an absolutely amazing venue. One of the things that I was talking about with the planner on a previous show was this space for like the pre-wedding get together, right? So a lot of people will do like a rehearsal dinner or like, you know, a couple days before the wedding, you know, all the families coming in from out of town, we need to go somewhere for dinner. Like this space is perfectly curated for that because, you know, everything is here. You come in. And the one thing I love about this space, it's totally private. Like you're on this busy street and you kind of come in and you're like, oh, like we could be anywhere right now. And I absolutely love that about this space. And I think the Flamingo Room specifically, even the ability to have a stage and a live music, perfect for toast, even getting married up here. You know, we've done a few weddings here. It's a really fun, intimate space that has a ton of personality.
But even to your point at VUW, we can demise the space and just do the cellar for what you're talking about as well. Right. Which for hosting a, you know, family welcome or, you know, rehearsal dinner or whatever it happens to be, that side of the room while the restaurant's still open is a viable space to do, you know, something smaller where it might not be a total buyout of the space. Right. And so that becomes very affordable and doable and easy in, again, a very unique space where we have all the little nuances taken care of. And so you don't have to bring in anything extra. Yeah. And the food is sensational. It's a lot of fun. Are you involved in the curating of the menu? Like, do you still like to kind of, even though you're not the head chef involved in that, like, do you still go in and periodically, give your 2 cents? Periodically, I'll send an idea forward and sort of gauge the interest by my team as to whether they think it's... Do you miss that side of it? Yeah, I do. I mean, I love the creative side. I love to cook. Yeah. I do it at home a ton. Sometimes when we're working on new menu items, I might, you know, use my wife as a guinea pig and make them, and my daughter now for that matter, and make them several times to test it out. Yeah, and honestly, hopefully be helpful, not to get in anybody's way, but like, hey, you know, if you're running a busy summer at Havana and we're trying to come up with some creative menu items, those two things sometimes conflict a little bit. And so, you know, if I can be helpful, I will get my hands dirty a little bit, but for the most part, I let the experts do it. Awesome. From a Bellegarde perspective, interestingly, despite it being there for 11 years, a lot of the things that I was involved putting on the menu originally are still staples on the menu. And so, you know, we rotate a lot of things seasonally, but a lot of the OG menu items are still there. So that's pretty neat. Speaking of OG menu items, Kung Pao chicken. That has been my go-to meal item at Earl's for probably like 20 years. Yeah. Do you remember when that got on the menu? Were you around at that point? I think it existed when I even started. And they did. They still have it on Kung Pao chicken, 4 peppers. That's like my go-to with the noodles. I wouldn't actually know if it's on the menu. It still is. Okay. It's still there. Yeah. And I remember going there in high school, like 25 years ago, and that's what I would order. And it's still on the menu. Last time I went to Earl's, like, they still got it. Hasn't gone. Yeah. That was there when I started too, which, you know, that's 30 years ago. So. Wow. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. Reuben, this was great. Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. And thank you again for letting us graciously use your space, showcase your beautiful venue. It's been an absolute blast. Your team has been, again, great hospitality. You know, I roll in here with all my gear in the morning, like, hey, wave at me, bring me lunch. They've been absolutely amazing. Awesome. So thank you very much. You bet. Loved having you on. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks so much for listening to the Friendors Podcast, the podcast by wedding vendors for wedding vendors. I'm your host, Shawn Miller, signing off. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean the world to us if you would follow, subscribe, and perhaps share it with a fellow wedding vendor who could use some inspiration or simply a good laugh. Want the Friendors Podcast to come to your city? Drop us a comment below and let us know. Until next time, keep learning and keep creating amazing weddings that feel better than they look. See you in the next one.